Welcome back to the program. This is the News Desk, of course. This is the News Desk right here on KTN News. In studio, I have Rosaline Omondi, who is the Associate Director at the Horn Institute, and she's going to talk us through about an international counterterrorism summit that was held right here in the capital, Nairobi. Good afternoon, Rosaline. Welcome to the program. Can you perhaps quickly talk us through what this summit is all about? Because time and again, we're told that, violent extremism has remained one of the greatest, problems in Kenya and by extension other African countries, including Nigeria and Somalia.
Good afternoon, Ibrahim. You're right. Terrorism has become quite a problem for most of the countries around the world. It is one of those things that has been with us for a long time, but then it's been changing. So terrorism is not new, but the tactics that are being used are new. We convened this conference at the Horn because we wanted people to come on the table, the stakeholders, the academics and the practitioners and the government officials and all other people who are working in this field to come and interrogate issues around terrorism and violent extremism to see if we can prevent or counter or find better ways to address this challenge of terrorism on the continent.
And perhaps can you talk us through some of the stakeholders in this summit? Are they from government? Are they people who have experience when it comes to counterterrorism?
Yes, sure. We had, for example, the ATTPU.
Yeah.
That is the arm of the government that is concerned with correctional. So when the suspects are taken into the courts and then they are incarcerated, what happens to them? How are they handled there? And does that make the problem worse or better? For example, we also had the National Counterterrorism Center. We had the government officials from different kind of, this kind of settings. And then we also had experts from around the world, from as far as the US, who are, for example, we had Anne Speckard, we had Dr. Osama Hassan, people who've been fighters before, people who've been studying terrorism for many years, to come and help us to interrogate this issue.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, Rosaline, there are a lot of researches that have been conducted before, and they almost have the same conclusion, that most of these terrorists, be it in Africa, be it all across the country, have one thing in common. They all have political reasons for whatever they're doing, or selfish interests for that matter, and that has nothing to do with religion. Are these some of the things that perhaps you've been talking about during the summit?
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of confusion around the topic of terrorism.
Yeah.
But terrorism in itself is an idea. It's something in the mind, which is not necessarily easy to change. But it manifests in different kind of settings, political, cultural, social, like you've rightly explained. So it takes different forms and it's expressed in different ways. But you're right, it carries on and on and on. So if people feel that there are injustices in society and that these injustices are not being addressed, they might choose the extreme form of a method to deal with it. So, for example, attack a government office to just make a point. And so most of it is what we call the propaganda of the deed. You do something that everybody goes, oh, okay, wow, we need to pay attention. It can, like I said, political, social, economic, but it all starts in the mind.
Yeah. And I'm sure you'll agree with me, this is not the first summit, anti-terrorism summit that has taken place in Nairobi. There have been others before.
Yes.
And the critics out there were saying, this kind of a summit as some sort of a talk shop. It's not solution-oriented. What will you have to say about that?
Oh, that is something we get a lot all the time.
Yeah.
What we're going to do different is that we're going to not just listen to these people and let them go away. We're going to then move into another step and publish books and share this recommendations from policy and other areas with all the stakeholders from schools, from government, the experts themselves, the scholars themselves, and disseminate the information actively so that people understand what this threat of our time is, in essence, the essence of it, and to try and deal with it on a day-to-day basis in all sorts of ways.
And you've already said you are also engaging people from the security docket because, these terrorists keep on using different ways and means of, hurting people. So is this something that you also discussed?
Yes. The security agents actually are very involved. They know a lot of things. They preempt a lot of the attacks, actually, even in this country.
Yes.
We work a lot with them. It's about community policing. The security officials rely a lot on the community to help them to bring any suspects.
But that doesn't seem to be the case mostly in Kenya, especially in northern Kenya, where most of the community members are antagonized.
Yes.
They are basically turned into victims. So do you think that is something that you can look into?
Yes, there's a little bit of a problem there, the communication between the community and the police. Sometimes there's a matter of suspicion.
Yes.
Can we trust them enough? But I think the onus is on all of us to help the security agents, if we have information that they could use, to tell them that. And the security agents also have to say, if we tell them, we'll not be feeling victimized. So it's about the community working hand in hand with the security agents to help us to counter or to prevent such attacks in our country.
And community policing will come in handy in this kind of a place,
Yes,
right?
actually, I'm proud to say that in Kenya, Kenya, that is happening a lot. And a lot of attacks, even about 2 or 3 weeks ago, were thwarted because of people in the community telling the police, this is suspicious and it can improve. Actually, in the conference we've had, one of the recommendations is to have more informal intelligence kind of systems, early warning and informal, to just and non-formal, so that people in the community, the elders and others, can be trusted and can be used to pass on information reliably.
Rosalind, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, because there's this feeling out there, general feeling that, governments are not doing enough, especially in a country like Nigeria, where a terrorist group comes, abducts about 230 girls, and then just disappear with them within their borders, not even outside the country. So do you think some governments in Africa are serious about tackling terrorism?
I think most governments are very serious about tackling terrorism. The problem, though, sometimes it's that people react to it, because you cannot always 100% know they're going to come now and then we'll prepare for them. And so government gets blamed because they're the authority in that field. As usual, when something is going wrong in your docket, you get blamed. But I think the governments are doing really, really good job to try and prevent this kind of attacks.
Thank you very much, Rosalind, for your time. Rosalind Omondi is the Associate Director at Horn Institute, talking us through about the International Counterterrorism Summit that was just concluded in the capital, Nairobi. Many thanks, Rosalind, for your time. Now, over to